Hi and welcome. So in this video I'm gonna talk about how to get into Linux Kali, how to use it, which tools to look at the first, and basically just how to start hacking with it. So without further ado, let's start talking about the different tools in Linux Kali that is being shipped with. Now I have the newest version, I believe. And if you click on the top button here in the left side of the screen, you will get an overview of all the different tools there are in the category of usual applications, 1 information gathering, 2 vulnerability analysis, 3 web application analysis, 4 database assessment, 5 password attacks, 6 wireless attacks, 7 reverse engineering, 8 exploitation tools, 9 sniffing and spoofing, 10 post exploitation, 11 forensics, 12 reporting tools, 13 social engineering tools, and 14 system services. And then of course we got some OffSec links or offensive security links which we can access. Now, apart from all the different category of tools, there are different there is a different tendency to use a variety of few tools for hacking. Now, in order just to give an overview of that, I'm going to write the tools down here in this text document. What is normally used is a tool called Nmap. Nmap is a tool that's going to map the network and discover ports. That is what you usually use it for, but it also can discover vulnerabilities. So it can also discover vulnerabilities. It's a great tool. It is mentioned, I think, under information gathering. Let me see if I can find it here. There we have it. It's Nmap. There are many different kinds of tools in information gathering. And I'm just going to say that if you wish to use the step-by-step built-in menu in Linux Kali as your approach to how you would hack an application, you can do that. I would just say you need to revise it a bit, because information gathering, vulnerability analysis, web application analysis, these things go hand in hand. Database assessment is just first something you can do if there is a database that is punchable, you know, something that is vulnerable. So, but let's get back to this list of tools that I'm going to talk about. Another very popular tool is one called GoBuster. It is basically a directory discover tool. So you can find stuff like x.com/whatever. So it's gonna look for the different folders that I marked, you know, it could be whatever, but it's a great tool that can help you find different kind of hidden directories. It could be something like admin, or it could be panel or something. So instead of you doing all this manual work, you can start the tool GoBuster and basically just run it. Okay? There are other versions of it. You can also use something called, I think it's called DearBuster, something like that. Let me just quickly verify DearBuster. Yeah, there is a DearBuster. And I think some of the tools you can start that is similar to this one do actually have a graphical user interface, if that is something you find or fancy. I kind of like the all-in text-based tools because they tend to run better. The problem is when you use GUI-based tools, you're kind of confined to the space of GUI. That is the price of using a GUI. In Linux, it's really easy to pipe commands. So you can have one command, you pipe to another, you have pipe to another. So basically piping means that this gives to this gives to this, and that gives to that. And in the end, this is going to generate some result for you that you, for example, could save in a file that you can call whatever. And just to make it easy, that it is a file, I'm going to say .text, even though the dot and the text extension is not necessary in Linux. It is a window thing to identify what file it is. Anyways, well, to identify what program to open the file in it is actually. But this piping thing is difficult to do in a graphical user interface because it requires it to have integrations to communicate with other tools, and they usually do that. So I highly recommend you to stay on with the terminal, which is the small black icon you can find up here. So it's basically just pressing it, and then it's going to be really small. You can right click and zoom in, or look at the shortcut just right to that. You know, it's Control plus on my keyboard, and then zoom into some respectable size so you can see what you type. I find this very small, you know, and I kind of like it to have it a bit more zoomed. But I'm also old, some told me, so maybe I should get glasses. Anyways, it is a possibility. Another very interesting tool that I also use a lot is one called Hydra, and that is a brute force tools that can use primarily for FTP or SSH or, you know, HTTP, and this is what you usually use it for. Now, brute forcing is something that is it is kind of what it is. You really try to knock down the door and find, is this the right password, is this the right password, you know, and it kind of works really good, but many services these days is resistant to brute force attacks, so it doesn't really work that well. Of course, not all websites or systems are persistent to brute force attacks if it's just small servers, you know, but if you're looking at for example, some cloud-based services, they usually have some sort of, let's say, software in front of it that's gonna catch these kind of, you know, many requests, and it could be something like a firewall, it could be some intrusion detection or intrusion prevention system. Of course, the detection itself is not enough. You would need to actually block the traffic. In many cases, it's an application layer thing. So whenever Hydra is blocked, it is done by the actual application because some programmer created a way to, you know, break the brute force attack and detect it in some way. All right. So having talked about the three very much used tools, there are other kind of tools you will run in using when you're using Linux Kali, the text-based version. Now, the easiest way to discover them and really just go into this, just to go into information gathering and say, like, so we have DNS analysis, we can use these kind of tools if that is important for me. Let me see if we can find something. The OSINT analysis is very, you know, there's so many tools, I just couldn't you know, do all them, but, you know, using something like Maltego or the Harvester or Shodan or something like that to gather operation OSINT. Let me just get the short for it because I just totally got it out of my head. I just usually say it, but it's open source intelligence. So basically, when you go ahead and look for whatever thing you can need to find about a certain person or company or something, you know, Maltego, you know, Shodan, and other kind of tools can really help you with that. Now, when it comes to vulnerability assessment, there are tools like, let me see if I can find something interesting here. Nikto. And Nikto, I should probably write it here because you use it a lot. Nikto is a vulnerability scanner, and it scans for, I think it's like a few thousand different known vulnerabilities on a web server. So it's really nice scan just to run really fast to get an overview of what is up and not. Alright, so you can take one step further and look at this. There's something called SQL Map and Burp Suite. Those are tools you also will use a lot. Now, I hear many people say, what about CMS and framework identification? Why is only VP scan for WordPress? There are other tools than WordPress. Umbraco is one of the tools, or Umbraco, whatever I'm gonna call it, is another CMS, or you can have stuff like Laravel, but it is not really a CMS, it's more like a framework. But there are different kind of free tools you can use to scan, you know, different kind of CMS systems. So VP Scan, Burp Suite, and SQL Map. So I'm gonna SQL Map is an actual SQL injection tool basically. And when we talk about SQL injection, we're really just trying to, you know, affect the database in some way. The good thing about SQL Map is that it can do more than just scan for a vulnerability in your input for applications, or with an application input, that is. It can also try and get a shell, you know, backdoor opened, you know, so you can do stuff, but it's not really the prime of its purpose. It's also kind of rare to see you popping a shell when you're using stuff like SQL Map. Now, when I say popping a shell, I basically just mean that you're opening a connection to the other server in some way. Either you make the server you're trying to hack connect to your machine, or you can connect directly to that machine. That is different ways to look at it. You can also go ahead and use stuff like Burp Suite. So Burp Suite, Burp Suite is a tool to, you know, it's just an HTTP tool basically. It is one tool wonder. It's like a Swiss knife, you know, these kind of knives that I'm having, this kind of thing, right? So it's just a knife with, like, you have a small, you know, you know, pair of scissors, knives, and screwdrivers, and, you know, wine bottle opener. You know, Burp can do many things. It can do, well, you can do the thing that GoBuster does, but GoBuster is faster and better. I would say Burp Suite is more suited for a more slow-paced, manual way, where you actually put your own intelligence behind what you're gonna do. It comes in a free version and a pro version. The free version is kinda, you know, it's okay. Use it for intercepting HTTP protocol requests basically, and look at headers and stuff, and how does the request look like. It's something you can use, misuse, and so on. So that is the Burp proxy and the tool that is also very much used. I rarely see stuff like VP Scan, but sometimes you're gonna do a VP Scan, and that's gonna, well, gonna be that. There's a variety of different kind of tools you can use for web crawling and directory brute force. I usually use GoBuster, but there are Derp and Deerbuster and Fuff and whatever there are other tools, but not really using them much, I would like to say. Other tools that is used a lot, let me see if we can find some here, is it right here or not? Is John the Ripper? Where can I find it? Whoa. John the Ripper is, or just John, is a tool that can crack your, it is right there, I forgot about it, yeah. It's a tool that can brute force, really, passwords. And if you find a password, you can use John. There's a variety of tools you can use along with John that can, let me just get some more space, help you to generate the right format of the password you're gonna crack. Now, whenever you find a password or something leaked, it's most likely hashed, which is another way of saying encrypted, but it's not the same as an encryption. It is a one-way function, so you hash something and you cannot reverse it. An encryption is reversible with a key, a hash is not. So that is a real difference, basically. So the hashed passwords is something that needs to have the right password for John to crack, which is why there are different kind of tools called SSH to John, or I think it's zip to John, and so on. So if it's a zip file protected by a password, you're gonna run zip to John. With the zip file, it's gonna convert it to the format it needs, and then you can just basically use John to try and brute force the password for whatever thing you do. There's also another tool called Hashcat, which is kind of the same as John, but it's just a bit more advanced, I would like to say. The thing with Hashcat is that you can go ahead, for example, to the web page Hashcat, just type it and take the first one here, for example, and then you can see that it supports a lot of different things, you know. I think Hashcat also can utilize the the processing power of your GPU, and it does kind of talk about GPU right here, so of course it can. So it can really brute force them hashes really fast for you. Now there are other tools as well. We can just go ahead and basically, you know, look through it all. And there's one called Crunch. You know, I haven't really used it that much, but Crunch is a really good tool for you to generate whatever password you need. It is it kind of says in the popular, generate word list from a character set. So you give the Crunch tool a character set, and then it's gonna generate, you know, a list of passwords from that. You know, I once wrote a Python program that can do the same thing. Basically, I make the Python program ask you a few questions about what you think the victim's name is, or, you know, the victim name's dog name, or, you know, different kind of, do you have any pets and stuff, you know, what kind of pet it is and the age and stuff. So that could generate a lot of passwords. Now Crunch can do the same thing. It's just more specialized to generate a lot of passwords really fast. I'm not using it that well because there are word lists. Not really sure what this link is for, but yeah. So basically just show that there are a lot of word lists on your computer already, and you can see that that apart from, you know, these kind of, you know, paths there is, you can basically use whatever word list there is, but, you know, user share word list is the way to go. So basically go into user share word lists and then ls all, and then you can see the different kind of passwords right here. Sorry, the password list. And seglist is something you should download, and you can do that by typing sudo apt install seglists. And I just tapped for exploration, so seglists. I already have it installed, so it shouldn't do anything. It's just say yeah, none removed, none upgraded. It is really a thing. So the word list is really important part of security whenever you're doing work. Let me zoom out a bit of this. Whenever you're doing work with, for example, GoBuster or Hydra, and John or Hashcat, you basically need a word list. This is how you're going to break the password, and there's no other way. A hash is just a hash, and it is the way it is. Other tools that's going to be really important for you on your hacking career is Aircrack Ng. It's a suite. So like Aircrack. Aircrack Ng is a Wi-Fi cracking, Wi-Fi hacking tool suite. So basically, it's one tool, one that contains a lot of different tools. Let me just go ahead and show you on a web page. If I can copy paste this, it would be nice. There we go. So Aircrack Ng, go to the web page Aircrack Ng. I think there is a list of tools in Aircrack. It's not that link, it's a wiki page you need to enter. So I think that is the wiki page. And down here you can see that there is a lot of different tools here, right? So the suite itself contains a lot of different tools. For example, the Airbase to create your own wireless access points, software access points for honeypot stuff, or you can use the Air Replay to do a de-authentication attack, basically disconnecting people from the Wi-Fi. You know, you can use AirDom to capture packets in the air and so on. There's so many tools. I haven't used all of them. You know, some of them are used in different ways and jobs. You know, where I need to, you know, assess the security level. This is the way. Apart from this tool, there are different kind of GUI alternatives like Fern, I think it's called. I'm not really a fan of it. There's also something called Pixie Dust attack and WPS attacks to Wi-Fi routers and router attacks. It's a thing itself. What I want to kind of notice is there's something called Bluetooth tools. I'm not gonna mention it as a primer or something. The primers is something I write here in the document, but yeah. About reverse engineering, you know, it's not something that I've been doing a lot of, so I'm not really sure what is the trend and not the trend, so I'm gonna skip that, to be honest. Exploitation tools, there are stuff like Metasploit. Metasploit is very important when it comes to exploitation, so I'm going to write Metasploit. And that is really just an exploitation tool that can exploit whatever service there is on, well, you can connect to basically. It's a really big tool, hard to summarize it all. There is sniffing. Wireshark is another really interesting tool I'm going to talk about. Wireshark is a network packets capture tool, and it can help you to monitor the traffic on the network if you're connected to it, either by Wi-Fi or by cable, it doesn't really matter. Wireshark is great because you can see everything in it, and it can also be used to decrypt or encrypt packages if you have the correct TLS key. Apart from the tools mentioned already, I think we are ending slowly. Just really trying to suggest good tools that are suggested here they're going to use on a regular basis. Now, I think I'm gonna end it right here and say if you use these tools, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different suggestions, you can get really far. And I think just for now, this should be enough for this video, also getting kind of long. I really hope that what you're gonna do now is go ahead and research the different tools, look up how to use Nmap GoPro. There are so many tutorials online. I'm not gonna waste your time by showing what you can just find in a static text sheet by basically copy pasting, altering a few things, understanding what the parameters do, and then that's it really. Because it is kind of just read and know knowledge. It is something you just look up and do it. It is not a science, it is not a wild thing, it is just, you know, tools you run to do stuff for you. And I cannot phrase that enough. It is just tools that run. Now, if you just use the tool itself as it is, without really using the results for anything, it is the equivalent of a script kiddie. And the script kiddie is just someone that runs tools and really does not know what's going on, but just, just, you know, press the button, attack. Well, so please try and use the result for something. Do an intelligence scan. Scan whatever the ports that you know that are open. Try and look for stuff. Pick the right word list. You know, be smart about it. This is what I'm gonna say. You know, I hope you really liked this video to give you an overview of different tools you can use in Nmap for your hacking career, in Linux Kali, sorry, for your hacking career. And if you like the video, please consider subscribing, click the bell for notifications for future videos. Then you will always be notified whenever I upload a new video. And I upload quite a few, I like to say that. I do. Just check my status on how many I uploaded so far. I really love it. So hope to see you again online, and until next time, just gonna say bye bye and have a nice day.